Yeah, I think so.
Are you ready to start since it's 12:12 and I was late? Are we good? Yeah. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon. Before we get started, I would like to ask our interpreter, Ruth Monroy, to walk through how to access our interpretation services for today's meeting. Ruth, please proceed.
Yes, thank you. The following announcement is for remote participants, and I will repeat this message in English. Para hacer uso del servicio de interpretación, por favor, desplácese a la parte inferior de la pantalla de Zoom donde aparecen los controles. Haga clic en el icono de interpretación, que es el globo terráqueo, y seleccione Spanish, español. Si está utilizando la aplicación móvil de Zoom en celular o tableta, presione los puntos suspensivos, luego Interpretation y luego el idioma. To use the Zoom interpreting feature, please scroll to the bottom of the Zoom screen where the meeting controls are located and click on the interpretation icon, which is the world, and then select your language. If you're joining using the Zoom mobile app on a cell phone or tablet, please press the ellipses, then interpretation, and then choose your language. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. Now I would like to ask our clerk to confirm we have a quorum. Tessa.
Thank you. We have a quorum for this meeting.
Thank you, Tessa. Welcome to our selection committee meeting for the Independent Taxpayer Oversight Committee, or ITOC. My name is Zara Sedegian, and I'm a Senior Financial Programming Analyst at SANDAG. Thank you to everyone to taking the time to join us today. Before we jump into the meeting, well, we did that, I'm sorry. I would like to provide a quick reminder on the process for the public and member comments. As noted on the cover page of today's meeting agenda, in addition to emailing comments, the public may also provide live comments during today's meeting. In order to provide live comments, when public comments are called for on an item on the Zoom platform, click on the raise hand icon in the Zoom toolbar on the top right of the screen. If you are participating by telephone, press *9. The clerk will call on you by the last 3 digits of your telephone number. The instructions for providing live comments are also on the bottom of the cover page of today's meeting agenda, which can be accessed from the homepage of SANDAG's webpage at www.sandag.org. All comments, whether emailed or live, will be made a part of today's meeting record. The first item of business on your agenda today is item number 1, selection of a chair, and the committee is asked to select a chairperson for purposes of conducting the meeting. As a reminder, this means we will need a motion and a second, and then the clerk will conduct a roll call vote. If you have a question or comment or would like to nominate a member as chair, please raise your hand and provide comment on nomination. Are there any volunteers to chair the meeting today?
I nominate Mayor White.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you. Yes, we need to actually confirm if there's any public comments.
I'm sorry. There are no public comments.
Thank you, clerk. Any member comment? No. So we can conduct a roll call vote, please.
Just to confirm on this motion for Chair Pro Tem appointment to Mayor White, a motion by Mayor Vasquez and a second by Chairwoman Vargas. County of San Diego, Chairwoman Nora Vargas. City of San Diego is absent. South County, Mayor Ron Morrison.
Aye.
East County, Mayor Raquel Vasquez.
Yes.
North County Inland, Mayor Dane White.
Yes.
North County Coastal is absent, and that motion passes unanimously with those members present.
All right. Thank you all for entrusting me with this grand position. We'll move on to item number 2, which is the TransNet Independent Taxpayer Oversight Committee overview. And I will turn the time over to Zara and Michael.
Yes, so this is a consent item.
Oh,
Yeah.
Michelle, excuse me.
It's Michael. This is a consent item, so we'll be happy to answer any question that the committee member might have.
No? Okay. Any further discussion? No? We'll move on to item number 3, which is TransNet Independent Taxpayer Oversight Committee appointment of members. And I'll turn the time back over to you again.
All right, thank you. The applicants being recommended by the Technical Screening Committee for the Biology and Environmental Science categories are Lorraine Alquist and Bruce April, both of whom are available here today. And the applicants being recommended by the Technical Screening Committee for the Public Finance or Budgeting category are Marianne Bobacki and Lance Schulte, and they both are here today as well. The applications and resumes for each candidate, as well as the Technical Screening Committee's recommendation memo, are included in your agenda packet starting on page 11. In terms of the approach to conducting the selection process, there are a few options available to the committee. The committee could choose to use the materials included in the agenda to vote on the candidate for the position without interviewing the candidate. Or the committee can ask each applicant to say a few words about themselves, and then the committee can vote to appoint a member for each category. The committee could also ask questions of the applicant before making its decision. A set of questions was sent to the selection committee as an example, but of course the committee can ask different questions. In previous years, we have started with the applicant giving a brief 1 to 2 minute introduction to let the members ask questions if they wish. Then after the committee has had an opportunity to deliberate, the vote has been taken. These are just some options. Of course, the committee may wish to handle things differently. If the selection committee decides to conduct interviews, then staff will request that the applicants step up to the presentation table. At the conclusion of each interview, candidates will be asked to step outside. After all interviews are conducted, and then deliberation amongst selection committee members could proceed. As a friendly reminder, the deliberation will be conducted in open session and available for members, applicants, and the public to observe. The applicants have been informed of the process. So with that, Chair, we will go ahead and follow your lead in terms of how you would like to proceed.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and invite the first candidate up, Lorraine Alquist. Thank you. We'll give you a minute to make an opening statement if you wish and to introduce yourself.
Is that better?
Oh, yes.
I'm a loudspeaker anyways. My experience at the County of San Diego and then within the industry as a consultant for the last 15 years, collectively with having 27 years of experience in the industry of environmental, and then residing here in San Diego since the end of 2003 with over 20 localized years of experience. My area of expertise is transportation. Having served and worked for SANDAG on multiple contracts in the past, being purposeful and having the experience with local projects as well, working on the North Coast Corridor, working on I-5, several different interchanges. I feel as though my role would be informed to the group. And then also my past experience as an operations manager with working closely with compliance with budgets for finance and allocations related to schedule. And so all part of that is something that I look forward to an opportunity as a panel member and being able to advise from a local perspective, having that experience, and then bridging the gap from prior organizational events and organizations that I've also been involved with San Diego Transportation Development Association, for WTS, Women in Transportation, and the Transportation U program, that I keep myself apprised of local events and what is currently happening within the field. I also teach a National Environmental Policy Act class at UCSD, which also keeps me relevant from a compliance standpoint related to NEPA and CEQA compliance. So with that, I thank you for the consideration.
Thank you very much. I'll give each candidate or each board member an opportunity to ask a question. We'll start with Chairwoman Vargas and then just work our way down this way, and we'll do that for every candidate. Yeah.
I have a question. Thank you so much for applying and for being here and all the wonderful work that you do. I've read your background. I'm just wondering, maybe it's for legal counsel. I just want to get a better idea of like, will there be any conflict of interest or issues that may arise because of your background, because you have been consulting for SANDAG? And so I just want to make sure that that's very clear. I don't know if you have any, and then I'll have it turned over to counsel.
Yeah, well, I think from a project specific. That's okay.
No, go ahead. I didn't see her back there. Come on up. Right here. Thanks for joining us.
So from a project specific, that's not something that typically I would be voting on. So I would remove myself or recuse myself at that point from project specific, because I have worked on many of the projects that are within the TransNet program.
May I, Chair? Just generally speaking, conflicts of interest are treated for our ITALK members are treated similarly to our board members, where a potential conflict of interest does not keep a member from serving on ITALK. They would be asked to follow the same procedures. If an item came before the ITALK where they had a potential conflict of interest, they would be asked to recuse themselves.
So the number of people who are going to be on this committee is how many?
We're choosing two.
Total of 7,
7, and we're
Right.
choosing 2 right now.
choosing 2.
Okay,
Two
I just wanted to
two
get a
positions.
better idea in terms of if someone has to recuse themselves a lot. What does that look like? But all right. And then I'll let my other colleagues ask questions. If they don't have any questions, I'll ask some more. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and go on down the line.
Thank you so very much for interviewing for this position. I'll ask this question. What professional skills and abilities would you bring to the committee, and how would these benefit ITALK?
Well, I think first and foremost, having the years of experience within San Diego County, understanding transportation priorities related to the RTP Regional Transportation Plan with SANDAG, understanding and having experience with TransNet, the ordinance specifically, and making sure that there's compliance and accordance to what is included within that ordinance. And then also from the perspective of my finance and operations background, looking at finance and allocation and budgets, and then related to schedule compliance, understanding that projects get shifted, and being aware of what the current status of those projects with my experience, I think would also be a strong asset to the committee.
Thank you.
Mayor Sanchez, do you have any questions? All right. Are you able to fulfill the time commitment required?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I just asked all my questions. I'm good.
Okay. Does anybody have any follow-up questions? Chairwoman, did you? Okay. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and now ask April Bruce to come on up. Bruce April, excuse me. It's all right. Same thing. We'll give you a minute for an opening statement and then I'll turn the time over to my colleagues.
Okay. My name is Bruce April. I'm a retired Caltrans employee of 33 years. I retired a couple of years ago. My last 10 years was a deputy district director for the environmental division. The 10 years before that was senior for the environmental stewardship branch, which handled all the resource agency permitting and biological mitigation. And I started as a biologist, native San Diegan, graduated from San Diego State with a bachelor's of science in biology. In my role as a stewardship branch at the time, I was heavily involved in the multi-species conservation program, and then TransNet 2, the beginning of that in 2002, with coming up with the impacts and for the 2030 RTP per acre, the cost per acre, the type of impacts, and the endowments. That budget is still being used today after all these years, and that's my legacy. Besides all the transportation projects I worked on, is the biological mitigation and the open space preserved in the county, and all the restoration work we did, including recently was still going on. Santa Elena Lagoon and San Miguel Lagoon is now in progress. I also worked in headquarters in Sacramento for 6 months as a chief environmental up there. And I served on a coastal commission for a year and a half as an ex officio member, as a representative for Secretary of Transportation. I was also the project manager for AB 1282, the Permit Streamlining Act, again, reporting to the Secretary of Transportation. As a deputy district director, I was in charge of all Caltrans projects from an environmental standpoint, project delivery, schedule, budgets, managing between 55 and 65 people, and in addition to multiple consultants for each of the specialties. I'm interested in this position as a retiree, just kind of, stay in the game. And I still feel a commitment to the region. And I think I can help with that, with all my experience working with SANDAG, working at Caltrans, working with all the resource agencies. And I thank you for the consideration.
Thank you. And thank you for applying. I'll turn it over. Go ahead, Chairwoman. Okay.
So I just wanted a clarification regarding the number of years that you worked for Caltrans. And also, my other part of this question is, what do you hope to accomplish in terms of participation on the ITOC?
Okay, again, 33 years at Caltrans. The first 3 years, I actually took a job in maintenance to get my foot in the door. And that was actually very beneficial because I ended up on the district-wide bridge crew. So I've been on and under every bridge in San Diego Imperial County. So that gave me a good background on how Caltrans, the district, how it operates, how important safety is. But that allowed me to transfer in as 9 years as a biologist, 10 years as a senior in environmental stewardship branch, and the last 10 years as a deputy district director for environmental. What I hope to bring is the expertise and the focus on the natural resources in San Diego, with the programs you have going now with climate resilience, climate action, sea level rise. In addition to the environmental mitigation program, what it does, because there's going to be, it's anticipated there's going to be a lot of change, especially in the coastal environment, and I have a lot of experience there, and hope to provide guidance in that aspect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Sanchez, do you have any questions?
No, this time, thank you.
Okay. Are you able to fulfill the time commitment required?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Good.
And
All right.
Does that include all the way to May 2027, right?
Excuse me?
Because I think this position is a 4-year position, right? So I just want to make sure that you feel.
I don't plan on leaving San Diego.
All right, wonderful. And then I think the other, I'll just ask for fairness. You don't have any conflicts?
I have a kind of an on-call with WTS, but again, I don't, it's very very few. I don't want a full-time job.
Mhm.
So I don't think there's any conflicts. And again, I can recuse myself if need be.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, thank you, sir. We'll move on to Miriam. And would you kindly tell me how to pronounce your last name?
It's Babaki.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
We'll give you a
thanks.
minute for an opening statement and to introduce yourself.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Honorable Board. My name is Miriam Babaki, and first of all, thank you for considering me as a candidate for iTalk. A little bit about me. I'm a graduate of San Diego State University, and I started my career right here as an intern for Caltrans in San Diego. I'm a licensed civil engineer, and I worked for Caltrans for 16 years, about 5 years in San Diego and the remaining in the Bay Area. Before I moved away to the East Coast and worked on a number of exciting projects, but I did come back to my favorite city, San Diego, in 2005. And actually, I was one of the original first generation iTalk members when it had just started. It was really rewarding experience at that time. Since then, I followed my career into and worked for the cities of National City, San Marcos, Oceanside. And my experience overall includes working on large transportation projects, infrastructure development, CIP projects in the range of up to $150 million. I've managed these design and construction and funding of all of these projects. When in the Bay Area, I worked on tax measure projects, Measure A for Alameda County, Measure C for Contra Costa County. As a public works and development services director for the City of Commerce just before my retirement, I managed projects, and it was a Measure A project that I did for them. I retired in 2019, and since retirement, I've been working for Rancho Santa Fe Association. I've served them as a building commissioner and development director, and I'm here before you, available and very excited if I'm appointed to do a contribution that I can for iTalk and for the city of San Diego.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your application. We'll start down here this time. Do you want to ask first?
I may.
You did say that you are now retired,
Yes,
and so I think you do have time for this commitment.
yes, yes. I do work for the Rancho Santa Fe Association, but I do absolutely have the time. Yes.
Thank you.
You stole my question this time. Mayor Sanchez? Thank you.
And I'll ask you this question. What do you hope to accomplish by your participation on iTalk?
That was something that we tried to do when I first joined iTalk, and at the same time, right now, I think iTalk is a measure of accountability and the public trust that the iTalk can bring for transportation projects. And my passion and commitment to responsible growth has me come back and want to be part of what really brings about the input from the public and the trust from the public. I also sat on the other side when I was in Commerce, where I had to respond to taxpayer oversight committees. And I have to say that a lot of times the questions that they asked and the points that they brought, it really made projects a lot better. So I'm hoping that as part of my participation, I can also bring that kind of a contribution to making the projects better.
Thank you.
Chairwoman?
Thank you. And I appreciate that you've done this before and you wanted to come back. So that's a big deal.
It is.
So I'll ask you, just in purposes to be fair with everyone else, do you have any conflicts of interest or anything that you foresee?
Absolutely none.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Sure.
That'll conclude the questions for this one. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would ask Lance Schulte to come up. Give you a minute for an opening statement and to introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Lance Schulte. I've lived in San Diego since I was 4 years old, other than a brief hiatus for one of my graduate degrees. I think I bring to iTalk a very unique skill set. because of my land use planning and transportation oriented development experience. The last project and my business skills and my MBA and financial analysis skills. The last project I worked on before I retired about 10 years ago was working with Hassan on the Redlands Rail, passenger rail project for SCAG. And we were really working to integrate transportation infrastructure planning with land use planning to make sure that the riderships would be high and that we could cost effectively finance that project. And one of the aspects of that project was one of my clients, because I was working for HDR, a large engineering firm that was a contract to SCAG. One of the unique things is we actually got a private property owner to pay for a transit station. And we were able to structure that deal where the citizens and SCAG got a free transit station built by a private developer. So I worked with Jack Dangerman at Esri to actually design and build a station on that passenger rail project. The other thing that I think I bring as a skill set is I was economic development administrator for North County Transit District and was involved in the financial analysis of various mechanisms to try to reduce our transportation infrastructure cost using land use planning and taxation schemes. And when I was there, I received a Caltrans research grant to test case what I defined as a study was called a TOD CFD concept to lower the transportation cost using a community facilities financing district along TOD corridors and around stations that would lower the transportation costs, increase revenue to our transit agencies, lower cost to developers to build development within those transportation TOD areas, and also increase affordability of housing. So it was really a win-win situation where we restructured how we typically do financing to bring multiple benefits to all different parties. So I think you can look at my resume. I hope you look at my resume. I actually won a statewide planning award for that work for North County Transit District. And I think I bring to the ITALK a very unique set of skills at a high level, pragmatic, analytical standpoint in looking at the interface between transportation, land use, which drives transportation demand, and the fiscal limitations that we're all going to be facing as we have to deal with a more constrained environment. I have no conflicts of interest. I've been retired, like I said, for about 10 years. I do live near the Lausanne corridor because I live right along the coast in Carlsbad, but other than that, I think I'm clean. So thank you.
Thank you. Do you have the time to commit to the schedule?
Yeah, I am retired. The only constraint possibly on that would be my wife's travel schedule, that she sends us off traveling every now and then, but I can certainly work around that if I have the schedules.
Thank you. Chairwoman? Go ahead.
You answered all the questions already. But I will ask this one question here. What do you hope to accomplish with your participation on ITALK?
No, I want to accomplish what the mission of ITALK is. I mean, that's why I applied. I think, that's what I want to contribute. I think as someone that's worked in the field for 30 some odd years, I recognize the complexity of the issues that SANDAG has to deal with and what this committee has to deal with, in particularly delivering value to taxpayers. And we can spend a lot of money sometimes building projects, and sometimes taxpayers don't understand the value of it. Sometimes they do. And other times there's ways to accomplish high value to taxpayers in different ways. And so I think what I would like to contribute is a comprehensive look and a thoughtful, comprehensive evaluation of how is the best way SANDAG can deliver on its mission to taxpayers, and how can we communicate that really well with taxpayers, because they're the ones that are driving the agenda on all this, and we need to show how we're doing that. So I think I have being put in that situation as a city planner for cities and having to justify various things, as being an economic development administrator, as being the assistant director of planning at UCSD and planning the Mid-Coast Corridor. We had to really show how the infrastructure and what we're spending and how we're doing it was bringing value. And I think that's really my goal.
Thank you. Mayor Sanchez?
Thank you.
I'm good.
Okay, thank you very much. With that being said, that'll conclude the candidates. Let's switch gears for a second. Do we have any public comments?
Thank you. I do want to state for the record that there were no public comments on item 2, and I do currently have 2 public commenters on this item. The first is Sunny House, will be followed by Tim Bilash. Sunny, please go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sunny House. I am a member of iTalk. I am the CEO member and have been serving on iTalk for 3 years. I'm really glad to see the variety of candidates that are coming on board and really appreciate everyone's time. Just wanted to do a little bit of clarification on the conflict of interest issue. Many of us on iTalk are actually working members of the industry. And but because on the iTalk, we look at program-wide and we oversee TransNet compliance and program delivery, we don't typically run into any kind of a conflict of interest that we may have to recuse ourselves. At least for the last 3 years that I have served on iTalk, and I was chair of the committee last year, I have not seen anyone recusing themselves for any type of a conflict. So just wanted you to be aware of that. And the only other thing I want to say is I'm the only female out of 7 committee members on the iTalk. So I appreciate your time and good luck with this election. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker on this item is Tim Bilash. Please go ahead.
Thank you, committee. My name is Timothy Bilash. I reside in Mid-County and coastal San Diego. I come to a lot of these meetings and appreciate, as Sunny House has said, I echo her comments on the diversity of the candidates. Thank you all for applying. I had a question, maybe a clarification. How many positions are being filled on the vote today? Are all these candidates vying for one, or are there 2 seats being filled? Because that would alter my comments. If you're filling 2, I believe you're filling an environmental position for a biology perspective. And if that were the case, I would support Bruce Arrell or Lance Schulte. It's difficult for me to make a comment beyond that. Again, I thank you for this opportunity.
That conclude public comments.
And that concludes the public comments.
Now, how has this been done in the past for those of you who have
Motion, right?
been here before?
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion to recommend Lorraine Alquist for the first position and Mary Ann Babaki for the second position. If somebody then seconds it, then we can have discussion.
I'll second that.
Okay, I'll open it up for any discussion.
Did you say Lorraine Alquist for the first position? And okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to, I'm sorry I was late and I caught the tail end of her interview, but I was really wowed by her resume. So I think that she would be wonderful in that position. So and for the second one, yeah, I agree too. That's great. Thank you.
I'll chime in here fairly quickly. to the candidates, I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you for applying. Your skills and your knowledge definitely that was submitted on paper was definitely impressive, but also to hear you speak about your passion for transportation is commendable. And so just know there will be more opportunities in the future. Don't forget about SANDAG, but we have to make a choice today. Thank you.
Any comments?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It's rare that when you have an opportunity to do interviews and you have, so in this case, everyone eminently qualified for both of these two positions. And so really do appreciate you all coming forward and allowing us to not only hear you, but to see your dedication and want to do this service. I do agree with the motion that was made. I think we had a couple of outstanding individuals. I know that Ms. Brebecki, I know was on there before, and I remember that was back when I was on SANDAG, and I know she was kind of one of the lead people on iTalk at that time, and so I appreciate her willingness to come back. All too often we get gun shy after our first attempt, and so do appreciate that. But all four of you, I think, are to be congratulated, and certainly thank you very much.
Any other comments or discussion?
No, I just, I get to work sometimes and I forget to stop and say thank you to everybody that applied, but yes, appreciate it.
I will echo the comments of my colleagues and say thank you as well. And if there's no other discussion, I will call for the vote. Does it need to be a roll call?
I guess.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Thank you. For the County of San Diego, Chairwoman Vargas. For the City of San Diego is absent. South County Mayor Morrison.
Aye.
East County Mayor Vasquez.
Yes.
North County Inland Mayor White.
Yes.
And North County Coastal Mayor Sanchez.
Yes.
And that motion passes unanimously with those members present.
Thank you again to all and congratulations to the two. We'll now move on to item 4. Is there any remaining public comments?
There are no further public comments.
Okay, then with that, I will adjourn this meeting until next time.